Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So, in case you didn't know, guys, I've started a new channel. It's called Multipolar World Order. So, I'd appreciate it if you guys can go to the channel and subscribe and try and watch the videos already there. There's a lot of videos on there that you probably have not seen. We also have a lot of high IQ discussions as well regularly. So make sure you join that channel, and eventually I'm going to be on that channel full time. So let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's start the show. As you know, Israel has been bombing the hell out of Lebanon, South Lebanon mainly, and they've been invading huge parts of Lebanon. They are threatening to bomb Beirut again. Obviously, they've bombed Beirut a few times now over the past year or so. They're threatening to do it again. You have Israeli ministers who are saying that for every soldier that gets killed, they need to bomb 10 buildings in Beirut or all across Lebanon. Those are his words. So you see, we are dealing with a genocidal country here. And what's happened today was quite interesting, to be honest. Let's just use the word interesting. Because Trump has been claiming for the past few weeks or month, I would say, that he's close to a deal with Iran, he's close to a deal, he's close to a deal. Every single day he seems to be close to a deal. But he's not close to a deal, guys. Because Iran sent a message out today that they're going to suspend or they will pull out of all, negotiations with the United States. And the reason they said they will pull out is because Israel is bombing Lebanon, and Lebanon is part of the peace treaty. So any sort of peace that happens with Iran has to involve Lebanon as well. But Israel has not been taking much notice of the US's negotiations with Iran. Israel has been carrying on with their bombing spree, killing civilians, and displacing millions of Lebanese across southern Lebanon. And it was an absolute shock today to the Trump administration and to Trump as well that Iran decided to pull out of the negotiations. So initially, when the reporters told Trump this, I think maybe Trump was a little bit shocked by it all. And his answer was, I do not care if Iran leaves the negotiations. I do not care about the American people. I do not care about the oil price or inflation. He was pretty angry about it, and he was saying some of these words. I mean, not exactly what I said, but along those lines. And then all hell basically broke loose, and media everywhere was hounding Trump, and you have the pro-Israeli um, gangs who are basically hounding Trump as well. And Trump basically then came back with a tweet saying he spoke to Bibi Netanyahu and he spoke to Hezbollah. Apparently, it's so funny. He spoke to Hezbollah apparently. I mean, he doesn't he doesn't even know. He doesn't have any contacts, by the way. Dealing with Hezbollah. He doesn't even know who he was speaking to within Hezbollah. And he says apparently he's agreed to a ceasefire. Bibi Netanyahu has agreed not to send troops to Beirut. That's what he said. And apparently Hezbollah has agreed not to fire at Israeli positions or soldiers, which is absurd for many reasons. First of all, Netanyahu did not threaten to send troops to Beirut. He threatened to bomb Beirut. So there's a big difference here. And so Obviously, I think Bibi Netanyahu is obviously a smarter guy here. So he's probably told Trump on the phone, don't worry, President Trump, we will not send troops to Beirut." And President Trump probably thought, "Oh, thank God for that. Oh, we really appreciate that. We really appreciate that so much. Thank you, thank you." But Bibi Netanyahu, he cannot send troops to Beirut. He cannot even get past southern Lebanon. The troops in southern Lebanon are being absolutely destroyed by Hezbollah and FPV drones. So that is out of the question. But even Netanyahu didn't threaten to send troops to Beirut anyway. He threatened to bomb Beirut with airplanes and drones. So he's completely outsmarted Trump again. So Trump sent a tweet out saying, obviously, "Don't worry, Bibi Netanyahu's not going to send any troops to Beirut, and I've agreed a ceasefire with Hezbollah." Hezbollah came back with saying, we didn't agree to anything. And, only way we would agree to a ceasefire with Israel is if Israel fully pulls out of Lebanon. That includes all of the southern Lebanon parts and areas. And then Israel came back, and Netanyahu came back with another tweet saying, "We did not agree to anything with Trump. We will still take action according to our own security needs." So everybody's denying it. Iran's denying it, and Israel's denying it. Hezbollah's been denying it. So what the hell is Trump doing? He's just sending out these tweets with fake news just to affect the markets. Because once this news came out that Iran pulled out of the negotiations, the oil prices shot up, guys. Oil prices went from, I think, 82 or 81 all the way to 94 in like a second. And also the markets did a mini crash as well. Not a full crash, but they did a mini crash. Gold crashed a little bit as well. So obviously nobody believed Trump, and everybody was like, "Oh, Trump is a fool," and all the pro-Israeli people were saying Trump is such a fool. You know, Israel didn't agree to anything, Iran didn't agree to anything, Hezbollah didn't agree to anything. He didn't even speak to Hezbollah. He doesn't even know what Hezbollah is. He doesn't even know who the leader is. He's just making things up. Then suddenly Axios is a fake news outlet coming out of the United States. And Axios suddenly released some fake news saying that, you know, Trump had an argument with Netanyahu and he was using the F bomb. So, according to Axios, Trump was saying Netanyahu was effing crazy, and he said, "You would be prison if it wasn't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everyone hates you. Everyone hates Israel." Those were his own words, apparently. But nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. Everybody on Twitter and other social media, even the media, they knew it was not true. And the reason it's not true is because they've done this before with Biden. They've done it with Trump. Last time they did it with Trump, uh, if you guys remember, they tried the same thing with Trump, and they said Netanyahu and Trump are not getting along. Then suddenly, a few days later, they started bombing Iran. Literally a few days later, guys. And then a few days later, they were both seen in the White House shaking hands. They were all best of friends. They tried that with Biden as well. You can see from this article here. Biden said to call Netanyahu a effing liar after Israeli troops entered Rafah. So you see, all of these F bombs that Axios and all these other fake news outlets are bringing out, it just doesn't make any sense. And they bring it out at the wrong time. Maybe the reasons they're doing this is they're trying to give some credibility to Trump, I guess. They're trying to show that he's got guts, he's got some balls to stand up against Netanyahu. Oh, look at Trump, he's standing up against Netanyahu, he's got balls. and apparently, you know, Netanyahu doesn't control Trump. So it's just one of those stories to try and show that Trump is not being controlled or not being bullied by Netanyahu. So it's just one of those stories. But I think what you'll find in a few days, they'll be meeting up, they'll be making up their differences, they'll be hugging and kissing and God knows what else. So it's all fake news, guys. Don't believe anything you hear. So I'm going to talk about this article as well. So he says Iran's foreign minister brilliantly outsmarts Washington, declaring ceasefire must include Lebanon. The US and Israel are held entirely responsible for their violations. Tehran is now threatening to completely block the Strait of Hormuz and also to fire at Israel. This is the first time Iran has threatened to fire at Israel because of what's happening in Lebanon. And Iran has said that if Israel goes ahead and bombs Beirut, then Iran will fire back. And you know Iran will fire back because they have the capability. So let's have a high IQ chat, shall we? Why why is Israel attacking Lebanon? And why do they want to take Lebanon? And why are they destroying any peace talks between United States and Iran? So let's think about this and let's talk about it. So why is Israel continuing to attack Lebanon and while they're doing peace talks with Iran? I'll tell you why, guys. They are we are talking about people who, they are fairly clever, these Israelis. But you got to kind of think about why they're doing it, and they are being quite smart about it. And the reason I say this is because Israel and United States ganged up on Iran and they started attacking Iran. So it's much easier when you gang up and fight one country. So what happened was during the 40, 50-day war that lasted for, I think, I can't remember exactly how many days, between 40 to 50 days. During the war, Hezbollah also attacked Israel. So then Israel had to focus on Hezbollah while United States was mainly focused on Iran. So Israel, we know that Israel cannot fight multiple fronts. They could barely even beat Hamas, in Gaza. And Hamas gave them a really good hiding. Even now, Hamas is not defeated. However, they have, successfully killed lots of women and children, destroyed most of Gaza with bombs, and they've taken about 60% of the land in Gaza. However, Hamas is still not defeated. So we know that Israel militarily is very weak. It cannot take on multiple, fronts at once. So one of the reasons they are focusing on a peace deal with Iran, I think they are trying to put things on hold with Iran while they take out Hezbollah. And it makes perfect sense. And America and Donald Trump is in it. President Donald Trump. They are basically in on it. And they had a chat about this in the White House when Netanyahu came to the White House. And they discussed this and they said, you know what, why don't we put a hold on attacking Iran? Let's let's focus all of our energies on attacking Lebanon, get rid of Hezbollah once and for all, take large amounts of Lebanon, turn it into Israel. I'm talking about invading Lebanon, turning it into Israel, turning it into another Gaza, evict all of the Palestinians and Lebanese, and push them out to Jordan or any other surrounding countries, and And then once Hezbollah has been taken care of, let's focus on Iran again. I think that's what they're trying to do, guys. Because Israel cannot fight two fronts at war. Because you have one side, Iran firing all these hypersonic missiles at, Israel. You have Hezbollah firing drones and other missiles into Israel. Israel cannot take it. So I think Israel and Donald Trump, I should say President. I don't know why I keep saying Donald Trump. President Trump, they agreed that they will focus on a peace deal with Iran. They will agree with most of Iranian terms, except the nuclear deal, and they want to open up the Strait of Hormuz. That's why they are really focused on opening up the Strait of Hormuz. So I'll tell you why they are really focused on that. So once Iran is taken care of, they do a peace deal, they sign a peace deal, and obviously you cannot trust the West, guys. You cannot trust America and you cannot trust Israel. So they think that by agreeing to a fake Iranian deal, and I think this number that they gave about 300 million, 300 billion they're going to give to Iran. I think that's fake. I don't think America would ever agree to that. And so Iran is basically taken care of. In the meantime, Israel and America rearms. They get their interceptors again, the PAC-3s, the Patriots, THAAD missiles, Arrow missiles, the Iron Dome. They restock, rearm these missiles. Obviously, they're not going to go to 100% because sometimes these missiles take years to basically produce. However, this war with Iran could restart, not immediately, but it could restart by next year. By next year, they should have a good number of, interceptors that they have built. And if they can open up the Strait of Hormuz, and this is, the Western thinking, this is not my thinking. So if they can open up the Strait of Hormuz, I think next time when they attack Iran, they will take care of the Hormuz Strait first. So I think they're hoping that if Iran agrees to open up the Strait of Hormuz fully without any tolls, then America would go in, demine everything. They will set up bases along the Strait of Hormuz. They will set up bases alongside, in Dubai, in Sharjah, and they will basically be more prepared next time. So next time they attack Iran, they will be more prepared to defend the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, these plans are not mine. This is what they are thinking. And I just don't think it's going to work, obviously. So that's their plan. They want to basically subdue Iran while they take care of Hezbollah. So while Iran is basically thinking that they are in a fake, peace deal, everybody's happy. But no, in the meantime, Israel is pretty much destroying Lebanon, turning it into another Gaza. They are taking huge land from Lebanon, and Iran's got his hand tied his backs because they signed a peace deal. They cannot attack Israel, otherwise the peace deal gets broken. So Israel got his hand tied behind his back, and Hezbollah is getting absolutely beaten from the air. They just keep firing air missiles, and America helps them. America and Israel helps them, and probably some help from UK and other European countries as well, because UK has a base in Cyprus helping Israel. So that's their thinking. That's their understanding. This is why they want to destroy Lebanon and they want to take huge parts of Lebanon, turn it into Israel, and then once they finish with Lebanon, that's when they will start with Iran again, because they're not going to forget Iran, guys. They are not going to forget Iran. They will take out Iran. Maybe not now, maybe not today, but tomorrow they will be attacking Iran again. They will not allow Iran to become a regional superpower. Never. Because for Iran to become a regional superpower, this means that, Israel will not be able to do its greater Israel project, and Israelis living in Israel will always be scared of Iran. And what you're going to have is lots of Israelis leaving Israel because they are scared, because they know Iran is getting too strong. They've got nuclear weapons, allegedly, and a war could start any moment with Iran. So you will see lots of Israelis leaving Israel. You know, Israel has been surviving all these years by making all its neighbors scared of Israel. So this is why they are being extremely genocidal with their approach when they attack other countries, and when they attack Gaza and Lebanon, they kill women and children because they want people to be scared of them. That's why they're being extra brutal. And that you know that fear has long disappeared. The Arabs are not scared. I don't, the Arabs have never been scared, or the Muslims have never been scared of Israel, because at the end of the day, if you're Islam, if you're Muslim, you are not scared of dying. At the end of the day, you kind of welcome it, and if you die as a martyr, then that's great. However, lots of Arabs and rich Arabs have become corrupted with money. So you have all these Arab leaders who have been corrupted with money and power and all sorts of other things. They got used to being with OnlyFans girls, and they do all sorts of stuff with OnlyFans influencers. So they got used to that kind of lifestyle, and they do not want to lose it. So this is why you see a lot of Arab leaders and princes, and especially Muslims with money, they become puppets because they don't want to lose what they have, and they become more scared of Israel and United States and Donald Trump. They rather than their own God, because when you worship money and when you love money and when you have too much money, you kind of forget about being a Muslim. You kind of forget about God. So I think that's what's happening, guys. I think they are basically going to be focusing on Hezbollah. They try and take out Hezbollah while they subdue Iran with a fake peace deal. And once they feel that they have taken enough of Lebanon and taken out as much as Hezbollah as they can, with airstrikes, by the way, and that's when they will come for Iran again. You know, they will not let Iran grow into a regional superpower. Never, not in a million years, because Israelis feel that Israel's survival depends on it. If Iran becomes too strong, Israelis will not live in Israel. They will just leave. They will not bother. And this is why you have Israelis leaving Israel and buying properties all over the world, in Argentina, in Cyprus, Greece, everywhere, basically. So this is another reason why Israel and the United States is pushing this NDAA. So what this means is they're going to integrate Israeli army with the American army, and they're going to integrate the intelligence sharing between the two armies. They're going to share, like having Israeli factories in America. So weapons will be made in America, then shipped to Israel. And this is one way where Iran cannot take out these factories with missiles. And they'll be sharing logistics, technology, satellite information, intelligence. They'll basically sharing everything. They are going to be integrated one with the other, and it's going to be extremely difficult for United States to do anything, or even tell Israel to stop, because they'll be one of the same. They'll be doing it together. They'll be integrating their supply chains together, and it's going to be extremely difficult to get rid of Israel in the future because everything will be so interlinked. And Israel's wars will become America's wars. And this is one way Israel will basically drag America back into the Middle East to fight its wars. and they'll be probably integrating people. So you have American soldiers working with IDF and basically invading Lebanon and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, guys, if you look at America's history, they have done exactly the same thing that Israel is doing in Gaza and Lebanon. Like what America has done to the native Indians, for example, completely genocided them. So Israel is pretty much doing the same thing with the Palestinians and now the Lebanese. And United States still has not shaken off that colonial mindset of what they did to the native Indians. And they're gonna. That's why they support what Israel is doing. And I'm not talking about all Americans, by the way. Most Americans are good people. They don't want war. They don't want colonialism. They don't want killing of women and children. They're actually good people. And I'm only talking about the people in power at the moment. And obviously the Zionists and pro-war, pro-genocide, all of these lot. So that's what's happening, guys. And don't know if I have anything else. Oh yeah, there's one story I wanted to talk about yesterday, but I didn't have time, so I'm gonna try and add it today. So it's regarding China, Philippines, Japan. So Philippines and Japan are basically joining forces, and similar to United States and Israel, they are basically joining forces. They're sharing military technology, military intelligence. They're going to use each other's bases. Well, not each other's. Let's just say Japan will use Filipino bases. And it doesn't stop there. You have these Filipino officials basically unleashing fury against China, and they are basically supporting Japan. So this guy, Defense Secretary, says he dismisses China's criticism of Japan rearming. He says dragging up the past wars to paint Japan as the villain is just a smokescreen to hide their own actions in the South China Sea. Those are his words. Basically, he's trying to say that, you know, Japan's atrocities that it did, the horrible, horrible atrocities, the inhumane actions, which were worse than the NAZIs of Germany. I think Japan was much, much worse than them guys. And this guy is saying it's okay what Japan did. That's what he's trying to say. He's just defending Japan. Those are his words. He says dragging up past wars to paint Japan as the villain is just a smokescreen. That's what he says. Unbelievable. This is the Filipino defense secretary. So now they are joining forces, and they're going to be sharing, obviously, bases, and Japan will use Filipino bases. They're going to be sharing technologies. Japan will probably give them missiles and other things. So now these two countries are working together, but have the Filipinos got a short memory? Because Japan, did some of the worst atrocities in Philippines as well. I mean, obviously, the worst atrocities were in China, but they did stuff that was equally as bad, or just as bad in Philippines as well. And they were absolutely evil, guys. The Imperial Japanese, absolutely evil. They, we are talking, worse than what NAZIs were doing. They didn't see Asians as humans. So now, there's a lot of Chinese online who are saying, and I'm not saying all Filipinos are the same again, guys. I'm just, I'm just having a go at the leaders here. I'm not having a go at the Filipino people. The Filipino people are fine. It's just the leaders I'm having a go at. So Have the leaders or these people who are joining forces with Japan, have they forgotten about Japan's past atrocities in the Philippines? Because they caused a lot of deaths and a lot of atrocities. And it wasn't just Japan; it was United States as well. People are forgetting that United States also did a lot of atrocities in the Philippines. They occupied Philippines, and it was a long struggle for the Filipinos to get their country back from the United States, and finally they did. But it's just on paper that they did. They are still being controlled by the United States. They got military bases all over the Philippines. They're controlling their foreign policy. They tell them who to bark at, which is China. They tell them who to make friends with. They say, "All right, make friends with Japan." It doesn't matter if they killed millions of your own people. You see what I mean? America still controls Philippines, and they have a puppet government. Marcos Jr. Bong Bong. He does whatever United States tell him to do. So you see, guys, the Filipinos do not have any freedom. They are literally still treated like slaves to the United States and to Japan. And any war with China, they will use the Filipinos as meat to fire at China. And people are saying how can they use Filipinos as meat because China is too far away from Philippines. No, guys, people are forgetting about the South China Sea. There's a lot of Chinese occupied islands there. They'll just send loads of Filipinos on ships and boats to attack those islands and to occupy those islands. And then they will occupy them and they'll fill them up with Filipinos. And then China has to come all the way and obviously take the island back, and that's going to cost lives and stuff like that. So they will use the Philippines as meat, basically, to fight to use against China. And we know that Japan hasn't got many people. They are losing population, but there's a huge amounts of Filipinos. They can use Filipinos all day long. So obviously, I don't think all the Filipinos will agree, fighting a war with China. But do they have any choice? Because the anti-China rhetoric is quite bad. I've seen a lot of Filipinos online who are attacking China as well. It seems like brainwashing, media brainwashing is a thing in Philippines. America pretty much controls all of the media in Philippines, and they have been brainwashing Filipinos into hating Chinese for years. So I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of Filipinos signing the dotted line and saying, "All right, yeah, sign me up. I'll go and fight China for you." Which is a shame, guys, because Filipino, it's not just America and Japan who took over Philippines. They have a history of being colonized by other countries, especially Western countries. We're talking about France did it. Portugal did it. Holland, the Dutch did it. So this even the Spanish did it as well. So there's a huge, huge history of the Filipinos being colonized. So yeah, it's a shame, guys, how media and influence and brainwashing can make a huge difference in the Filipinos' attitude towards China and the attitude towards Japan. Suddenly, Japan is their best friend. I'll tell you one thing, guys. They say a leopard never loses its spots. A monster will always stay a monster. It's in their nature. Japan might not have had any wars over the last few years, but that's only because they have not been allowed to rearm. But what will happen when they start rearming and they start becoming quite powerful? Well, you might see the real Japanese imperialists coming back again. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.